All right, welcome to Two Sons Podcast. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope all of you guys are having a great week. We are back. It's been a couple of months. It's been crazy. Pardon me, I've lost my voice. I played in two men's league games last night for the championship, which we won, thankfully, which was great.
Good work.
But I get really keyed up athletically. There was a lot of yelling and screaming. I now have no voice. You know how that goes, but bear with me. We have a show that we're covering together. Luke, it's good to see you, man. It's been way too long. I'm very excited to see you in person next week. I'm flying home on Sunday and we're going to spend a week back in Tucson. I hope to see you a few times while I'm there. You know, Denver's great. Love it up here, but I miss you a lot, buddy.
Dude, we miss you guys so much. And it's been a rough year for skiing. So you did this massive move and it's been dog shit for skiing.
Yeah, there was the snow, and then like I've had really bad luck over the last couple of weeks. So, dude, this has been crazy. I get an email yesterday from started from Xfinity and then eventually from Excel Energy, which is basically like the electric power company, like the utility company here. And they're like, "Yeah, we're expecting gusts up to like 90 miles an hour, so we're going to
You're
be
like, no.
doing blackouts, like safety blackouts around town just to keep the power lines from like starting fires." That hasn't happened yet. But then I started digging into it. I'm like looking at the like right now outside right now there's like 55-mile-an-hour gusts and it's supposed to get up to
Oh,
about 70 here in the late afternoon. And I'm like,
gross.
what in the world is this? Because this is like the third time this has happened since we moved up here. So essentially, what happens is winds come from the west and they roll up over the Rockies. And when they get up into the high elevation of the Rockies, all that snow and high elevation like super cools the air, which then
Mm.
causes it to condense, and then it literally rolls down the other side and just wrecks the metro area like it just with these crazy winds. And like apparently there are certain pockets of it. Ours aren't too bad down here on the southwest part, but like parts of Boulder are the parts that are expecting to get like 90-mile-an-hour winds because they're like right through that like
That
funnel.
sounds so bad.
Yeah, so Breckenridge today had like gusts up to like 75. So today I had 2 days to
Oh.
ski this week, Wednesday and Friday, and we were just Carly and I were like, we're not gonna go ski. They're gonna have the lift shut down, you know. So
And you
like,
said it was 70 where you are? It's 70 in
yeah,
Tucson, Jay.
dude, I know. I'm saying the wind,
Okay. I
like
was
the
like, how
wind
is it
gusts.
70? And yeah, I was like, that makes no sense. My brain was doing cartwheels. Okay, the wind is up to 70. That's even worse.
Yeah, so like these crazy wind gusts are like the other day I was driving around and I literally like was driving on a road that was kind of on the top of a plateau and all of a sudden my car's just getting sandblasted from like sideways wind. So it's like I did some research and apparently they only get like 2 to 4 of these like super crazy days every season, and then there's like another dozen where they're not quite as bad. But apparently it's like this well-known weather phenomena where it just the winds roll over the Rockies and they literally ride down them like a slide. But it's just, we were hoping to have like closer to 15 days on the mountain at this point. We have 7 so far. So I'm
Okay,
hoping
that's not too bad.
Friday's my next day that I'm hoping to get out there. But yeah, it's definitely been skiing has not been as big a part of this move yet as I thought it would. But that said, we're
Dude,
gonna
I'm
get
so
some skiing
sorry.
in. You're gonna come. You and the rest of our friends are coming up in January. You might be coming again in February. By then,
I'm for
hopefully,
sure
we
coming
have
in February.
way more snow. Hopefully, but most importantly, I'm excited to have the pod back.
I know, man. Me
Uh,
too. It's great to see you again. Like, life is crazy busy, and I know that everyone always
dude.
talks about that, and that's not news for anybody. But it's just insane how hard it's been to even FaceTime. It's just
I
been,
know.
yeah. So this is nice. When you shot me the text, I was like, yeah, we need to make this happen. So
Well,
the
and
kids are over at my parents' house right now, so
that's awesome.
got the
That's
house to
awesome.
myself.
And it kind of it gives us this opportunity once a week to hang out, even irrespective of any other contact that we have. And like the big thing is like we like no matter what happens, Luke and I might get busy and we might have a stretch where we don't do the pod for a couple weeks, but like we're always going to keep coming back to this. We just have too much fun doing it,
For
and it
sure.
gives us an opportunity to talk about the things that we love. And like Fallout's awesome. I'm super excited to dig into this. But we even have Star Wars news. Like Star Wars is like apparently under Disney for the first time going to venture into the Old Republic, which is kind of
I know.
exciting. And we have Ahsoka season 2 coming this year. It was announced the other day that Ahsoka season 2 is going to tie directly into the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So essentially,
Makes
just think of
sense.
that as like a grand finale to that storyline. There's plenty of stuff to get into. We might touch on that a little bit later in the show. Fallout is a special one for me because it brings this combination of like one, just a really unique dystopic like storyline. I've always been big in these like alternate realities, like whether it's an alien invasion or it's like some sort of artificial intelligence storyline, or in this case, a apocalyptic type of situation. Or even the same thing going back. It's the same reason why I like Game of Thrones or I like Star Wars. Like I like imagining a completely different world. It's fun. So it kind of
Mhm.
fits into that element. There's this huge nostalgic element with the video games. So like for instance, like you saw the scene at the start of the episode where Lucy's up in the dinosaur head and she's like shooting. So I'm pretty sure it's in New Vegas, but uh I've been in that dinosaur head like sniping raiders. You know what I mean? There's like such like I know it doesn't really necessarily make up the meat and potatoes of the show in the sense that anybody can
Right.
enjoy it, but for the people who played the games, they put a great amount of effort into like actually making it feel like the games.
That was the
But
same with the neighborhood scene too, right? The neighborhood that they were in, Cooper and his daughter, when the siren started going off, that was super
Mhm.
reminiscent of the video game too.
Yeah, so Fallout 4, I think that one is. And I had just actually randomly this summer, I have this thing now where like I pick up video games and I play them for like an hour or two and then I get bored and then I don't turn on my PS5 for 2 months. That's the issue I have as of late. But the Fallout 4, I played it a little bit this summer. And like literally that's what it is. You're starting kind of like in the pre-war world, and there's like a vault tech dude who like shows up to your door, and that dude is like hey, like he's trying to like sell the vaults, and he looks just like that. They like nailed the way the
Right.
dude looks. They nailed the way the neighborhood looks. And what happens in the
Dude, it's
game is
so
those.
eerie though.
Oh, it's
Oh, it
super
bothers me
eerie.
so much. Speaking of getting into old video games, so the Frame TV has their built-in gaming system in it,
Oh yeah, yeah.
So all you have to do is just buy an Xbox controller. So I've been playing Halo 2 a lot. Talk
Hell
about
yeah,
reminiscent. Yeah, it's sick. I'm on to
dude.
Halo 3. I beat Halo 2, so I'm on to the third.
I was gonna say you have to be playing the single player campaign. I can't imagine
Yeah.
there's still people playing online.
Dude, and my internet's way too shitty to do anything else. So
Yeah, I hopped on Call of Duty the other night randomly.
did you just get
Just
wrecked?
and I actually did okay. I've always been like
Really?
a okay, like I've always been like a 1 KD type of like where I'll have
Wow.
games where I'll go like 20 and 13, but then I'll also have games where I go like 7 and 25 too. Like I have games where when you end up in the wrong room
Right.
and you
After
just
you've
start
done a little
getting
bit too well,
absolutely
then they think
wrecked.
you're better than you actually are, and they pair you into a lobby that's just got like semi-pro people. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then you're just getting absolutely wrecked. Yeah, but like there is still like this feeling when you're playing those first person shooters where you go on a little streak where you kill like 3, 4 in a row, and every time it's just like exhilarating. You're
It's
like,
awesome. Yeah. It's so awesome. It is
but
so
yeah,
great.
it's so funny though because I went to all this trouble. Like I powered on my PS5 for the first time in months, and then like literally went through like hours and hours of downloads to like update the software and get it to the point where I can play. And then I played like 4 matches of Call of Duty, and then I haven't turned it on in, in the time
It's
since.
so for you and I, because we're not huge gamers at all.
Mm.
Like it's literally been years since I had done anything. Actually, you and I played Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
Well,
the
well,
Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. We played both. Yeah.
right. So that had gotten my itch like a year and a half prior, and then this got my itch, and I'm about to shut it off probably for a while.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where like I like to dip my toe in those waters every once in a while, but ultimately, like it's kind of like you mentioned earlier, our schedules are just so packed. It's just really hard to just set
Right.
aside hours for video games.
For sure. For sure.
Um, but anyway, like Fallout, they've done such a great job of capturing that feeling, and that honestly, like before we get into any of the plot points, that's what I'm super excited about with New Vegas. So.
Mm.
New Vegas was one of the it was kind of like a function as an expansion. It was on the same engine and same kind of like graphics and gameplay and everything as Fallout 4. But it just essentially was a whole new plot and a whole new city. And what I'm super excited about is like that game had like a super different vibe than the other Fallout games, because in the other Fallout games like there were these massive facilities that you'd see like the vaults underground, or like in Fallout 3 when you're out in, I think it's Philadelphia if I remember, or Boston. It's one of those East Coast like historical cities. There's like a massive enclave facility that's like underground, and like you see stuff like that. But this New Vegas is like a city that is like not touched by the
Mm.
nukes, and they explain that in this episode, essentially with the Robco guy having his own missile systems, which I really want to get into, which is fun. But
Yeah,
like
it's like the Iron
essentially,
Dome.
when you get into New Vegas, you kind of travel down a road and it's like the typical Fallout kind of dilapidated everything. But once you get to New Vegas, it's like a legitimate like full city that's like normal and not dilapidated, right? And then there's like different entities. So like in the video game, you have the New California Republic, who, by the way, we met in season one of Fallout, very briefly. But then you also have this group called Caesar's Legion, which they're like all dressed like Roman soldiers, and they're like just crazy like zealots. And I've seen them in the trailer. I've seen the dudes in the Roman armor in the trailer for season two. So like I'm super excited just to see New Vegas and to see all the different entities and like it just is like scratching that itch. But then lastly, it's got like a really interesting storyline, and that's where I kind of want to start with the Robco piece because like I thought the scene where they're in the bar and the Robco guys on the screen just kind of
Mhm.
being smug, and all the people are pissed off and they're beating up one of the Robco robots. And then this guy in the corner of the room, he's just doing the classic. This is such a classic like movie TV trope where the dude's just in the back of the room smoking a cigarette.
Just
Just
smoking, yeah,
yeah.
with like the slight overhead camera angle just going down kind of over his brow, forehead. I was thinking the exact same thing. He's just over in the dimly lit bar in the corner, doing his thing. He's like,
Yeah.
well,
So he kind of juts in and he makes honestly some interesting points talking about how like because like he's like nobody voted for this guy because one of the big storylines in Fallout is essentially a dystopia where countries the actual like federal governments all go super broke from the war. So they're
mm,
all essentially insolvent, and when it comes to resources and what they need to compete with the big corporations, and so the big corporations end up essentially running the world at that point in time. And in a lot of ways, like we've seen some examples of that in recent history too, where we just have some dudes who are getting so incredibly rich that
yeah.
they're starting to rival governments out there, and
We'll talk about that here in a second. Yeah, because there's definitely something I want to touch base on. Yeah.
yeah,
Continue on though. I don't want to cut
like
you
Elon
off.
Musk has thrown. He basically has put a whole set of satellites over
Dude,
Earth without much oversight. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Yeah, NASA like employee or NASA is like a buyer for Elon's stuff now. It should be
yeah,
the other way around, right?
yeah,
But NASA like uses Elon's company to do stuff, which is
yeah.
crazy.
Because
Yeah,
he's better at it because he has
right,
more resources. He's able to fund it better than we can fund NASA. And like
right.
so we see this essentially happening, but so he steps in and he kind of like uh puts it in a way semantically that I thought was really fascinating. He's like, you all voted for him. You all voted for him every single time you made a purchase of one of his products. And like it's such an interesting concept because he basically said like you're in control of this. All you have to do is stop buying his stuff. You know what I mean? Like
So
that's basically the way he frames it. And it's an interesting way to look at it because ultimately, as we progress forward in this way, like I mean, and it's going to get crazier because I mean, like Netflix just having that huge acquisition last week, and you're going to continue to see companies merge, and they're just going to get bigger, and there's just going to be more and more of this kind of dynamic, and it is kind of fascinating.
isn't it weird? Because I was thinking about that too. Isn't it so weird that this happens to also be produced by Prime,
Yeah.
who's owned by Jeff Bezos? Like, and there's like not much else to be said there. Like, I'm not going to get into the weeds because I don't really know the weeds well enough. But like, I thought it was so funny that this is being produced by Prime. And then it also happens to be owned by one of the wealthiest people on earth. And it's like, yeah, rich man bad, very
Yeah.
bad. And I'm just like, what is going on? Like, it's shocking to me as I was watching it.
That is one of the differences between the Hollywood dystopia on display in the show versus reality, which is in reality we're not there yet.
Right.
There still is a better balance to things. The classic example is like you want to know why like it's not like Jeff Bezos went to the Fallout guys. It was like, I want you just to rip into billionaires with this one. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
no, like what's happening is they still have their creative freedom, and
Right.
like so essentially it's more like I just want a smash hit TV show. Here's a bunch of money, do whatever
Which
you
is
want
cool.
with it,
That's the
and
way it
there's
should be.
creative freedom. Yeah, absolutely,
Right.
totally agree. But you're right, it is kind of just funny to think
I was
about like
shocked.
yeah,
I
no,
was shocked.
exactly. But yeah, so that concept was fleshed out in that speech, which I thought was really cool. And then he goes out into the alleyway and he basically like just offers these dudes a bunch of money. Takes a punch first of all, then offers these dudes a bunch of money. First of all, we were talking about this before we started recording. That guy looked a lot. The random guy in the bar looked a lot like the Robert House character who was the CEO of Robco, but at the same time, it can't be because he was on the TV and the dudes didn't seem to recognize him. So we have to
Right.
just call him other dude at this point. Like he's just kind of something random. I mean, I don't know if you have a take on that, but I couldn't tell what he was
I think
exactly.
if it's not him, which I don't think it is, I think it's fascinating that they made them look so similar.
Yeah,
I
no,
think that was kind of
absolutely.
that was a really odd move on their part. Pretty distracting.
There's definitely like a suit plus grease back haircut plus mustache plus cigarette vibe that they're going for
Yeah,
like
like the
the
pencil mustache.
yeah.
Yeah, you'll look pretty similar to your buddy who's doing the exact same look.
Yeah, they're not exactly trying to hide the evil Monopoly Man type of
Right.
vibe that they're going with. But so then he ends
How
up
long
so
was he in there for before someone started giving him shit too? Like
I know.
when did he get there?
Yeah. What did it when he walked in with his shiny white shoes? Were people not immediately like, hold on a
That guy's a
second?
douche. No,
Yeah. So, yeah, they're clearly setting up something with these chips because so he's got these chips. He implants one on this guy's back. He uses it to like essentially send a frequency that causes him to beat up his own friends to death. Then he kind of like turns like he's going to attack him, so he turns the frequency up and his head explodes.
There's so many
And
heads that got exploded this
a
episode. By
lot
the
of
way, it was
exploding
just
heads, man. I was worried about you as I
too
was watching. I
much,
was like, this is a
too many
little.
heads. I would do the thumb thing where I'd like cover up someone's head before the explosion happened, so I didn't have to look at it.
Yeah, they it's very much Fallout. I was actually joking with Carly about this after the scene with the dinosaur head when everyone starts getting just absolutely murked by the
Just
ghouls.
right off the bat, like 1.5 minutes into the show, and then people are just getting exploded.
Dude, the Walton Goggins line too, where he's just like, all you're doing out here is shooting them in the ass and shooting them. Like he's like, you're not doing them any favors, right? It's so funny. But
Well, and
so
then he brought it up again when he was like, "Lucy, what are you gonna do when you find your dad? Are you gonna shoot him in the ass?" And then I thought that was pretty good.
yeah, I Walton Goggins is an absolute legend, and I just love seeing him in action. Very much enjoying the show for that reason. But in that scene, when everyone's like getting shot and stuff, there's this kind of dismemberment element that has been prevalent throughout the entire two
Very
seasons
much
at this
so.
point.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, but that's kind of it's an homage to the game because like in the game, like if you shot a dude in the arm 3 times, his arm would blow off, or like if you shot him in the head 3 times, his head would explode, or like if you hit him with any sort of explosive weapon, his body would just dismember and go all over the place. So you'd go through these scenes, like for example, the scene with the dinosaur head. You'd be up in the dinosaur head, you'd sneak up into it, you'd start shooting dudes, and you go down, you clear space, and then when you're done, like you're like, okay, the area is clear. Now it's like it's time to accumulate all the items, right? So you like start going to body, and like you're grabbing all their weapons and their armor and all this kind of stuff. But as you're walking around, it's literally just like it's literally just like a smorgasbord of body parts, just laying around. Like that's literally the way the game is. So they definitely try to like feed into,
Oh, they did.
yeah, they feed into. I think it's all part of that, like sticking true to what the game was like.
It's probably the bloodiest show we've ever covered.
Oh,
Would you not
easily.
agree? Yeah.
Yeah, and we've watched some crazy ones like Shogun, and we watched some gnarly, gruesome stuff. But yeah,
This
Game of
is
Thrones,
almost
House of the Dragon. I think it might
yeah,
be worse than that.
I think so too. This is so cartoonish though that it almost makes it more palatable.
Yeah,
Like
oh
I
yeah,
hate it. Like don't get me
yeah,
wrong. Like I'm not a huge fan of the blood and gore, but it's so over the top that it's pretty palatable. It's really not
yeah.
that bad.
To your point, like the scene from episode 1 of season 1 of House of the Dragon, where you're like watching them like kill this woman in a C-section.
Oh
You're
yeah.
like, yeah, that's like a level of gruesome that is like
Dude,
different.
I
And
know. It's like
yeah,
it's so intense that you're like, are other people watching this? Like, am I a
mm,
weirdo for watching this show? And then like
yeah.
a billion people are watching the show.
Yeah, and there are certain directors that kind of do it just to do it. Like I've watched a couple of Mel Gibson movies recently. Of like we watched Braveheart, and it's like, yeah, you
Mm.
can tell like Mel's just got a thing for violence. It's for whatever reason, it's just like his kind of thing. Anyway, so these chips are going to be some sort of something because we end up seeing them later on, which will tie into the next storyline, which is Hank. But when he's in this big, massive Vault Tech facility, there's like a bunch of these chips, and they're clearly working on making them
Mhm.
smaller and a bunch more exploded heads in there, and a mention of some sort of like attempt to finish a project surrounding
Right.
these chips. And I think that clearly is one of the big storylines that they're setting up. Like, so Hank essentially he's going to New Vegas. Lucy and the ghoul are following him. They find out that he takes a detour to Vault 24. In Vault 24, there happens to be like a bunch of these like dudes that are getting like brainwashed into communism for some reason. Like I don't know what.
Which they kind of alluded in season one that communism were like the good guys too. Did you
Yeah,
notice
that was
that?
super weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't know how that was playing a role in anything. It was just obviously a big experiment to see if they could turn people, probably.
Yeah, exactly. So they have like another classic movie trope where it's like there's the movie screen and they're strapped to the chair and their eyes are being held over,
I
like just
know.
like classic stuff like that. So at the facility, Hank grabs some sort of hard drive. We don't know what the hard drive is. That's complete question mark at this point. You know, a classic first episode of a new season. They're setting up a bunch of new storylines. It's a lot of like untied ends, you know, loose ends, so to speak. He ends up going to this massive facility. Do you think that was underground?
No, I think it was outside.
It
The
was
reason I
outside.
think it
Okay.
was, yeah, it had lights at the top of the building,
Mm.
which is done just so planes don't fly into it. So obviously they're not worried about planes flying into it these days, but I think it was outside.
Okay, so let's just for now assume that it's some large facility that's near Vegas that similarly survived the war because of the shield that was over Vegas. And
Right.
that was kind of before we move any further, that was the other kind of interesting thing about the Robco guy is Moldaver ends up telling us through this other storyline with him and the ghoul, with her and the ghoul, that essentially the CEO of Robco, this Robert House guy, has his own missiles, like not just like the Iron Dome kind of concept, but he had his own nukes. Like
Mm.
she basically is like he's the dude who's going to start the war, and I was like, oh, that's crazy because like that's the one thing where it was like if Elon Musk started building a nuke, like then it would be like then
You
everyone
get
would be
shut
like,
down.
whoa, 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 whoa.
What do you need those for?
Yeah.
Is that for the moon or Mars? Like,
Oh man. But
he's like,
yeah,
I
so
need this to put another Tesla in space. Just don't ask questions.
why is your Tesla shaped like a sphere at the end of the warhead? I don't understand what's
Yeah,
going on here.
don't
Uh,
worry.
but yeah, so he ends up going to that facility, and you know, one of the fun. So Carly and I actually rewatched season one in the month leading up to this, and you know, that was one of the kind of funny subplots of season one was Bud's Buds. So
Mm-hmm.
this guy Bud is just like a total weirdo, and he's like the Ghoul's character when he's what's his name when he's the actor. I'm blanking on
Cooper.
it. Cooper, yeah, yeah. So he's like constantly like sucking up to Cooper and like giving him all this attention and stuff, and he's like obsessed with management. He thinks like the pathway to like solving all the world's problems is just like perfecting management, right? And so all of Bud's buds are like in Vault 31, like in cryo, and they're getting pulled out once every 30 years to basically become overseers of Vault 33 and 32. And there's this whole kind of like storyline surrounding that. Well, like our guy the Hank is one of those buds,
Right.
but in his call when he gets into the global communications thing, and we don't know who he's talking to. You and I talked before. We think it might be Robert House. We think he's talking to that guy. And by the way, I have not so in the New Vegas video game, you eventually reach a point where you go to one of the casinos and you go to the top, and there's similarly to the in Vault 31, like the brain and the little like robot thing. Similarly, there's like a computer where a guy like managed to transfer his consciousness into the computer, and I'm pretty sure that is the Robert House guy, but I'm not
Mm.
100% sure because it's been like literally 10 years since I played Fallout New Vegas. So it's been a long time, but like I think that's who he's talking to, is he's talking to him. But like it was weird how I don't know if you picked up on this. It seemed like when he framed the conversation like he was like not working for Vault Tech anymore. Did
Right.
you pick up that vibe?
It sounded like he almost approached it like it was a job interview. And
Yeah.
then, and then like it
Like he was
almost like,
defecting, but like pick
yeah, or
me.
like I
Yeah.
don't know, and it had this like mic drop vibe to it. Like he gets on and he's like, and I'm gonna be your guy. It's like, were you not supposed to be his guy? Like, and I guess maybe not, because really with the generations of Bud's buds, they didn't really know when all of the this was gonna drop, right? They didn't know when the shoe was gonna drop, really. So yeah, it seemed like he looked at this as an opportunity and was taking some great business opportunity for himself or something like
Yeah,
that.
like leveraging his circumstance to try to increase his individual power.
Yeah, and
It,
then
it,
he's
it
he's gonna like turn himself into a scientist or something like that, and then perfect that nano chip that goes on the back of people's heads. It sounded like his approach.
Yeah, and he literally said at the start of it, he's like, "Yeah, but like, there's not much of anything going on at Vault-Tec anymore." Like, he basically said it as though Vault-Tec was like over, which I
Yeah,
thought was, which I thought was interesting. So, similarly to what we talked about earlier, it's the first episode of a new season. there's always going to be like these new kind of loopholes and storylines that get opened up, and they're supposed to be confusing at this point. That's what gets you coming back the following week, right? But like, there's definitely something weird with Hank and this hard drive and these chips and him trying to work for somebody. Our best guess at this point is it's the Robert House dude who's in New Vegas as essentially a computer brain.
Yeah.
That's my current working theory at this point. Um, and we have like we have this other like flashback storyline with the Ghoul and Moldaver, where
Mhm.
essentially like the Ghoul, like Cooper they show just to remind everybody, they show him basically hearing his wife say that they're going to start the war again, and he's just utterly crushed, right? So,
Come on, Barb. Could you
poor
imagine
Barb,
your wife doing that?
dude.
Like, that'd be the
Oh my gosh.
worst.
Well, just imagine like being in love with somebody and then like suddenly in 10 seconds finding out that they're like pure evil and you had no idea the whole time.
So that, and that's what's so hard about shows like this, though, because Moldaver apparently is a good person, but you never really know because she's definitely a string puller herself.
In her own way.
And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I would not be surprised if they, flipped the script a little bit on her and she ended up being maybe not so innocent.
Well, because we don't know
Um,
how she survives, because she survives all the way from before the war to the current day. She dies at the end of season one, and the only way they're going to get to that point is if she went into a cryo chamber. And if she got into a
right.
cryo chamber, she must have been in with Vault Tech at some point, you know?
Right. I know there's the elongation of life that they're kind of hinting at, but they're not really fully addressing. And even Lucy was giving the Ghoul a hard time about it because she's like, "You think I'm crazy? Like you're the one that thinks your family's still alive."
Yeah.
And it seems like the Ghoul really does think that his family's alive. So there must be some technology that either like slows down how quickly people age, or they're in cryotherapy or cryo chambers, cryotherapy
Yeah.
like LeBron James.
Yeah, exactly. I think the two methods of survival at this point are the cryo chambers and then like the brain pods. I think those are
Yeah.
the two main ones that we're
Can you
seeing.
imagine too? Like, okay, the peak of your existence is turning into a brain on like a little scooter, like a wheel scooter thing, and you can't feel anything, and all you do is think.
Hard
Like,
pass.
hard
I'd rather
pass.
be dead. Like,
Dude, all of this I've thought so many times throughout the entirety of this episode. See, these shows actually depress me because the entire time I just think I'd rather be dead.
I know.
I'd rather
I
be
was,
dead.
dude. It's so funny you said that. I thought the same thing when I was watching it. I was like, dude, I probably would just take that Plan B. Remember, because they had the Vault Tech Plan B in season one. It was just
Yeah,
cyanide capsules.
it's just cyanide. And then
Yeah.
there's that poor little family that was sitting at the table and they'd all
Yeah.
taken it. It was
Yeah.
awful, awful,
Yeah.
awful, awful things. It's I
Dude.
know,
Oh,
but then the human spirit, man, people know how to survive. Like the redeemer is Lucy in this for sure, right? Like
oh,
she's like
absolutely.
always
Just keeps
upbeat.
hope at all
Yep, she keeps
times.
hope. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
so Moldaver Cooper essentially they because when he hears that from his wife at the end of season one, we don't really see what happens next. All we see is what happens at the beginning of episode one of season one, which is he's at some child's birthday party with only his daughter right when the bombs go off, right?
Right.
So we don't know what happens in between those two events. Well, we get a little bit of an insight there. So he like runs home, tells his daughter, "Grab your three best outfits, grab your favorite toy. We're leaving." She's like, "Where are we going?" "We're going to Bakersfield," but he's actually going to meet with Moldaver.
Mhm.
He presumably at that point is trying to like escape his wife, but Moldaver basically goes, "You need to go home before your wife gets home, so you
That
can
scene was
pretend
so good.
everything's fine." Yeah,
Mhm.
in that scene where he's in the kitchen and he turns around and like puts the fake smile on, like that was brutal. That was a
See,
tough one.
and that's why I'm wondering. So his wife Barb, that's why I'm wondering if maybe she's not as bad as we think. Because they can always layer this in a way that maybe it doesn't reveal as much as we think. And she was obviously struggling too when she had gotten home. She had faced the door and had to collect herself as well because she knew that she had done something awful. So it's hard because they're making her still have like a little bit of a soul and a little bit of a consciousness, and that's why I'm wondering if maybe she's not as bad as we think.
Yeah, I think you're probably setting up for like I'm gonna assume she's alive.
Yeah, I
Because
think
she's
so
just another
too.
one of these Vault Tech higher ups. If anything, she's one of the highest ups. So like she clearly is going to have some pathway for survival. And like if that's the case, they're going to run into each other, and she's certainly going to have an excuse. She's going to
She's gonna have
have,
some explaining to do
yeah, and
for
he's going to be pissed off. He's not going to want to hear it, but it's going
yeah,
to be it's going to be a whole thing, and it's going to be like, "Where's my daughter?" and all this kind of junk,
right.
or maybe he does run into his daughter instead. But yeah, that was the flashback was an interesting kind of situation. Moldaver then tells us at that point, Robco in Vegas has their own missile systems. If someone's going to start the war, it's probably Robco, you know,
Hmm.
and essentially she goes, you need to find a way to get in with your wife so that you can go to this event in Vegas and try to figure out more about what's going on there.
Well, and she wanted to kill him. She wanted Cooper to kill him.
Oh, really? I didn't pick up on
Yeah,
that.
I think so because she was Cooper says he's like I'm not a spy, and she's I think she alluded to she's like I don't really want you to be a spy. Like you're the one that could stop this, is what she says. And then she
Oh,
goes,
okay.
oh well, at least if the world ends, you can enjoy your good consciousness or something like that for not doing dirty work. So I think she was alluding to wanting Cooper to kill the guy.
That's interesting. I think you're on to something there. I am curious to see where that storyline goes though, because I love they have so many different. That's the other thing too. Like we talked about this before the show, but like we didn't see Maximus at all, or the
No.
Brotherhood of Steel at all, and
Mm.
so there's just a lot of story ground to cover over the course of
Yeah,
this season.
presumably Maximus has this like cult following now. They
Yeah.
kind of alluded to that. They're like all hail Maximus or something like that.
Oh yeah,
At the end
because
of season,
his friend ends up coming up and like celebrating him at the end of the final episode. I forgot about
right?
that.
And then I think what the writing has done, because we know that if Cooper was supposed to kill House, that he fails at it, obviously, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that there is going to be a very very good scene coming up where he gets maybe like inches to pulling the trigger, so to speak, and decides not to,
Yeah.
and then that would lead right into essentially the end of the earth. And I think that
And
that
there's
could be
got
a
to be a
really
falling
powerful
out between
scene.
him and the wife too at some point.
Yeah, and at some point it almost sounds like they were like kidnapped too or something. You know?
Oh, that'd be interesting. Or if that was like kind of the cover for how they disappear, kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
because somehow
yeah,
the daughter gets separated from him too,
exactly.
between when the bombs go off and whatever happens
Right.
to our main guy. So yeah, it's interesting. The only other storyline, I mean, Ghoul and Lucy when they're walking around, it's just they're just I just love their chemistry. I love the vibe. It's just hilarious. I just enjoy every second of it. And it just captures the absurdity. It's like such a perfect like dynamic to have like this truly benevolent, kind soul, amazing person with like this just as literally as jaded as a human being could possibly be,
Right.
because he not only has lived for hundreds of years through human indecency, but has done it through a post-apocalyptic wasteland where it's like literally the basest instincts of the human race that he's been contending with for 2 centuries. So like
Like
it just
literally
makes
awful.
for the banter between the two of them is super interesting. And that thing that they do at Vault 24 is another classic kind of like Fallout thing, because like you always end up coming out of your vault, and that's like your
Mm,
home base that you can kind of go back to. But like for the most part, as you're kind of traveling throughout the wasteland, you will run into other vaults, and some of them are like operating still, but some of them are like that. They're like the door is propped open and it's like full of some sort of evil thing that you have to kill to
like
get like,
cockroaches, giant cockroaches.
yeah, and you get either some sort of valuable piece of information or you meet some sort of important character. Like they sometimes they're just side quests, but like you will venture into vault. So I thought that was kind of a cool addition there too as well.
Was Vault 4 the vault that we saw with the scientist that was working on cold fusion? Is
Ye-
that because they
no,
mentioned
so Vault
Vault
4
4
was,
and like an experiment that was going on, and I just didn't know if you had insight into that because it sounds like stuff that happened in Vault 4 was like horrendous, and I didn't know if that was like a callback to something that maybe like a Fallout nerd would know about. So maybe if one of our viewers knows anything about it, they could let us know. But then, yeah, the other storyline too. There's so much going on in Fallout. Is the cold fusion aspect of this too?
yeah.
The unlimited power type deal. So apparently that's going to feed into these chips as well. Or I wonder if those correlate somehow. I'm sure they do.
Well, and Moldaver ends up getting it somehow. She just needs a code. Remember, she ends up needing a
Mm,
code from Hank. But she
that's
ends up
right.
getting it somehow. But she also tells us in the flashback in this episode that the Robco dude, Robert House, has it. So
Right.
or that the vault like that his wife is going to give it to
You're
him.
like
So like and
purchasing it. Yeah.
so maybe Cooper ends up grabbing it from him while he's out there.
Well, and what's interesting too is they had those, the chips that go on the back of people's necks, and as they got smaller and smaller and smaller, they got like more and more like blue. I don't know if you
Yeah,
noticed
they
that.
did.
So, and like blue always signified the cold fusion unlimited energy thing. So I'm thinking they correlate somehow. You
Yeah,
know,
it'll be interesting to see. I find that whole storyline to be really fascinating.
yeah.
I'm
I
excited to
think
see where it goes.
the most the most interested the storyline that I'm most interested in is Norm and Bud.
Oh
I
yeah.
think
So yeah, that's the other thing that we didn't hit on. So Norm basically releases all the managers. How about that, dude?
I
You know
know.
what's so funny? I was thinking about that when he was like getting threatened for starvation. I was like, dude, I would literally go up to him with like a large piece of metal or even just my foot, and I'd be like, "Let me out of here! Or I'm stomping your brain in."
For
Like,
sure.
yeah,
I know. Did they just glance over that? Did he threaten to be able to revert his consciousness into like a computer or something like that? Because I think that's absolutely bizarre that Norm hasn't done that already.
I
I
know. And
totally
so
agree
he
with
does
you.
end up charging him and kicking the syringe off of his little syringe arm. That was the
Right.
one like piece of violence that he brought. And then he does end up asserting himself by releasing all the cryo chambers. But like, and I don't. When I saw that too, I was like, okay, what's your plan now, Norm? Like, all these
I
people are
know.
gonna wake up and they're just gonna be like, aren't they just gonna like physically overwhelm you and then go back into their
Well,
cryo chambers? Like, what's
they're
gonna happen
managers,
here?
Jay. They're managers. They're all stuck in there too, so they're gonna want to get out. They'll figure it out. They're all smart.
Dude, I don't. That is gonna be a really interesting storyline. I'm excited to see what direction they go with that.
Can we talk about how
Um,
Bud has been holding a syringe out like this for 200 years? Presumably.
oh man. Also in the vaults, we have Chet is basically becoming a full-time babysitter for Steph, the
Yeah.
new overseer of Vault 32. Uh, she
Steph
was
is going
trying to
insane, actually
Yeah,
having to lead
she's
people.
losing her mind. She was trying to communicate with Vault 31, but inter-vault communication has been locked down. That was fascinating. I did think it was interesting when Bud was talking about too how he's like, we have a contingency for people who escape vaults, and like, so there's
Right.
no one that's going to come looking for you.
Do you think that was just like a way for writers just to say like we don't really need to deal with this problem in our writing, and they're like, oh, it's the contingency plan, and then they just don't touch base on it?
I think it makes sense, doesn't it?
It
Like,
it does make sense. No, 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 totally. It makes total sense that they have one. But I wonder if that's just savvy writing where they're like, oh yeah, it's one of the contingency plans, and then they don't have to tell us what it is. It's just one of the plans.
well, that's kind of the beauty of the baseline foundation of the story, which is like you have these companies that you're almost intended to think that they're beyond beyond our comprehension in terms of their capabilities.
Right. Well, and then whoever Hank is talking to over the intercom like alluded to that person or that being having had a bunch of contingency plans as well that they've calculated over time.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so
That's
I don't
right.
know. It's just cool. It's
Yeah,
cool.
because he's
Like
like, I know
the
you're alive.
right, exactly, exactly. You've calculated it.
But yeah, I think that's it for this episode. Is there anything else you have in your notes that you want to hit on?
No, man, I think that's it. It's such a combination. Like there's parts that I love, and then there's parts that I just struggle with. Like seeing you said the indecencies of human beings, and I think that pretty much summarizes like what Fallout is. And sometimes it's a hard watch, but then it's also just so interesting. The story is so interesting. And it's Fallout has been done so well, and they've continued with that. Like they've just done such a good job, and it's such good storytelling that you still get so intrigued. It's like the Game of Thrones thing. It's like, man, like sometimes it's a hard watch, but the storytelling is so good.
Yeah, it has a I think a 97 or a 98 on Rotten Tomatoes right now. Season 2 to
Wow.
Fallout. Season 1 was like 93, so I think they're saying it's a little better. I mean, obviously critics are critics, but I've really been enjoying it. I again, we're going to have thankfully, if you guys remember season 1, they dumped the whole season in one sitting, which was a huge bummer for us. But this time they're going week by week, thank God. So we'll have like some good content there to cover throughout the show, and it runs right into Game of Thrones, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. The story of Sir Duncan the Tall, which is
More
kind of like
soul tarnishing content. Yep.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited for that, and we just have a bunch of stuff that we're going to be covering over the course of the next few months. I did want to briefly talk with you about this Star Wars piece. So like
All right.
this is interesting to me because I've done a little bit of digging, and like one of the things to keep in mind when it comes to like Star Wars projects is like Star Wars loves a good announcement and then shit will just disappear. Like I still remember them doing like an announcement where they had this female director standing like on like a runway, and she was like
With the
holding like a
X-wing.
Rogue Squadron helmet,
Yeah.
remember? And
Oh
talking
yeah.
about how they were going to do like a Rogue Squadron themed movie. I don't know if someone in the comments can tell us when that announcement came out, but I think it was literally like 2018. Like it was
Yeah.
ages ago or whatever it was, and there's been
Dude, and they
no
did it
sign
so
of it.
well. It was so cool. They spent like half of my yearly salary. No, they probably spent all of my yearly salary to do it.
Yeah, on the announcement.
Yeah, and then they just didn't do anything.
Yeah, and like so everything gets taken with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to video games. I'd argue video games are worse. Video games seem to have like an absurdly long development cycle. I don't know why
Yeah.
that is. I don't fully understand it. I think it's probably a combination of some of the complications with how these studios keep getting acquired, and then like as they kind of combine into these other entities, their projects kind of get slotted further down, and then they just
Mm.
kind of get lost. But there was a famous Star Wars trailer a few years back for a game called Eclipse that was also going to follow
So
some
cool.
sort of like kind of force user in the galaxy kind of element. I think it was more based on I can't remember what time frame that was based on, but I think it might have been just like the classic Republic like kind of prequel series time, but I'm not 100% sure. But nothing's happened with that game. And like it's still like out there in the ether as like something that's like a project that's allegedly being worked on, but nothing's happening. So this game, Fate of the Old Republic, it kind of has like the trailer classic kind of Star Wars vibes. The other thing with Star Wars trailers too is like when it comes to video games is like they'll just do these cinematic trailers where the graphics
Right.
just look completely absurd, but it's basically just a CGI Star Wars trailer is all it is.
Right.
But it's still enjoyable. Every time I see these, I just absolutely love them. And you get the all the classic like ship mechanics, ships flying. You get this female character who's walking into this like cave. You see like this kind of like it looks like a massive shipwreck in the background. The first thing I thought when I saw that shipwreck was the Star Forge, which is a famous Rakatan shipyard that would like mass produce ships using the power of the dark side. It was something from the Knights of the Old Republic games. And it just kind of looked like that because it kind of had like that shape that was in the background. And then she sees some sort of like massive monster creature thing that's materializing out of like a fog, so to speak. And then she ignites her lightsaber, and it's just like immediately, I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. This is awesome. I'm super excited. But it's like, we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like with the trailers and the video games, it's almost like they created these amazing trailers and then they like almost like outdid themselves.
Yeah.
I feel like they release it and then they watch it and they're like, oh no, like
Can we live up to
everyone's
this?
going to be really expecting a lot out of this. Like this looks really, really cool. And then they're just like, maybe we shouldn't do it. Obviously it's way more than that. But yeah, I mean, with Star Wars, you and I have talked about this so many times. I mean, and this show was created out of our nerd fandom for Star Wars. And you and I have gotten let down so many times as a result of that almost.
Oh yeah.
Um, and so at the end of the day, anytime Star Wars comes out with anything, I always just take a massive, massive grain of salt with it.
Yeah.
Just because we've been let down so many times.
Yeah, to your point, even when they actually make stuff, you just
Mm-hmm.
don't know whether it's going to be
Yeah,
something that kind of fits the mold or doesn't.
right.
Uh, One of the things I'm specifically excited about this is a new era. This is officially the first step from Disney. They've done, from what I understand, they've done some DLC from the Old Republic games, but just because those games were like so successful, people were still playing them, so they were able to like
Mm,
continue to make DLC for it. But as far as I understand, this is like the first like new step into the Old Republic era, and they've kind of emphasized this in when you see like Disney has released graphics and charts. They kind of have like these eras, right? Like there's like the the old republic, then there's the high republic, and then there's like the fall of the republic, and then there's like the rise of the empire, and then there's the I can't remember what it
First
was, but
Order,
yeah, the first, but there, and then there's the
Final
era
Order.
between the First Order, which is where basically where the Ahsoka series lands. And so there's all these like different eras that they operate in. They've kind of like pieced it out, but this is their first venture into the Old Republic. And the Old Republic to me is like easily like the most fertile ground for
Mhm.
storytelling, so to speak, because it's the ground where the environment shifts away from the norms. Like
Mhm.
if you look at the First Order situation, you've got these two primary dark force users, and Palpatine slash Snoke, he was Snoke the whole time. I've been every
The whole
voice you've
time.
ever heard.
Yeah.
So we have Palpatine and Ren, and then your classic kind of solo Jedi, right? In the
Right.
form of Rey, plus the old man who trains him but doesn't fight anymore. And then you go back to our current situation where like Ahsoka's operating in, and similarly, like there's a handful of Dark Force users. We have Baylan Skoll, who's his apprentice. I can't even remember. They get separated, but you have the two Dark Jedi. You've got Ahsoka running around. You've got just a handful of Jedi, handful of Dark Force users. You go back to the Rise of the Empire era. It's Luke Skywalker and the old man, in this case Obi-Wan Kenobi slash Yoda, and you've got your two Dark Force users, Palpatine and Vader. You go back before that, and it's like Palpatine and Dooku, or Palpatine and Plagueis, or Palpatine and Anakin. And you have the Jedi Order, which was, kind of, and that's what separates, and that's what makes the prequel series feel very different from
Right.
the Empire the era. Is you've got like this like deep roster of like good characters that are fighting for
Right.
the good side, right? But then you go back to the High Republic, and we've seen from the Acolyte, the Sith are essentially in hiding, and they're still operating in the rule of two. The Old Republic is the era of scale for Star Wars,
Mhm.
which I think fits so well with everything that they're trying to do
Totally.
in terms of
Totally.
like just making blockbuster type content. Like you want to have unbelievably massive starship battles. You want to have thousands of Sith and thousands of Jedi. You want to have scale. You want to have Mandalore the Ultimate. You want to have all these like the Star Forge, the Malachor disaster, like all these different things. Like it's very like it almost reminds me of the Bible, where like when you look at like the Old Testament, there's like a scale that like
Right.
far supersedes anything that happens after it. Like you've got the earth opening up and swallowing people, and floods,
Yeah.
and like the
Everything was kind
walls
of
came
chaotic.
crumbling down, and like you get the point.
Dude, the guardrails are off, so to speak. And the way that Star Wars has always been written is they'd always talk about like the past greats, and like how powerful they were, and how they could do things that we've lost the ability to do. So, and you're talking about the scale, and I could not agree with you more. Nowadays people want to see this scale, and it didn't fit in the Star Wars universe that they're portraying. Or we'll call it like the Rey universe. It just didn't make sense. But I feel like the guardrails can be kind of taken off a little bit, and you can get more absurdity where it doesn't it's not so glaring when it's there. And I think it'll be way more palatable as a result.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I think about is, remember in the Plagueis book, where the best part of the Plagueis book is the first third of it, where Plagueis himself is like completely like the entire book from James Luceno is essentially like Plagueis's brain coming to terms with the fact that he has now supplanted his master, and he is now the Dark Lord of the Sith. But he also
Mm-hmm.
knows that he's the one who's going to finish the grand plan, and he's constantly like reconciling like his budding power and what he views as like this infinite potential. But he's also like thinking about he reminisces about his learnings of ancient Sith, and he talks about how like the ancient Sith had like these powers that were like beyond the realm of comprehension. Like he talks about Vitiate living for 1,000 years. He talks about like entire planets being consumed. He talks about these
Right.
like incredible feats. Like he even talks about how some Sith lords had professed the ability to fly. In the book, and he's like trying to reconcile all of it. And it literally like kind of matches up with the same concept we're talking about, of like the kind of like the mythological nature of
Mm-hmm.
ancient history, and like And I mean, it's even like I was not to go on like a random rabbit hole here, but we just watched Troy the other night because we we just put our movie theater downstairs. We got a Black Friday deal on a TV, and we've just been watching movies, and so we've been watching epic movies because they look great on the big TV. And we haven't seen Troy in forever, so we were watching it. And like essentially, from what I understand, Homer was actually kind of active during the Greek Dark Ages, which was during an era where it was after some of the greatest like Greek empires had thrived. And it was in an era where a lot of that ground philosophically and technologically had been lost.
Hmm.
And what happened was a lot of those cities were like rubble,
Right.
to some extent. And so what ends up happening is you have these people and they see these cities and they're like, who were these people?
Right.
Like,
The
and they,
Colosseum.
yeah,
And you're
this
like,
is
what? How
exactly
did
what
that
I'm
get
talking about.
created? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like
And
you
then
can imagine,
it gets lost
yeah,
somehow.
you can imagine in the dark ages of Europe when you've got like 350 different like small entities that are controlling small patches of Europe and none of them
Mhm.
have the resources or the capabilities of the Roman Empire. And if they were to come across like a palatial Roman estate in the hills of like southern UK, they'd probably look at that and be like, who were these people?
Who I
Like,
know. And then you wonder too, yeah, and this aligns. It's so cool because the issue that Star Wars has had, which is the scale, aligns with like the contemporary needs of the viewer, which is us.
yeah,
And it's cool that they're finally like reversing it almost and going back to like the old times, the ancient times where, and it's almost like facts can't even be checked because it was
yeah.
so long ago. It's like it's so cool. And then so then all of a sudden you're theorizing like, okay, like how would a Sith Lord fly? Well, they said they could do it, so it must be true. The same thing is with like the Colosseum. It's like, well, how did they build the Colosseum, or how did they build the pyramids with
Yeah,
the
people still
technology
are
that they
still are
had?
trying to guess how they build the pyramids.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
then you could come out with some wild theory and you'd be like, well, that's interesting. Yeah, it's
Prove me
palatable.
wrong.
Yeah, prove me wrong. That's cool. So
No,
it's more fitting for the contemporary viewer of Star Wars to go back into the old days where like facts almost can't be checked, and you and I as Star Wars nerds can't be like, no, that's wrong. That's out of proportion.
it's a good
It's
point.
it's kind of like this unknown realm, so to speak.
Yeah, to your point about the fact checking, like because you're entirely outside of the current storyline, you have free reign. Like we expect Disney to retell the story in their own way. We're not expecting Disney to come out and tell Revan's story like word for word the way it was told in the video games and the books before Disney. Like for instance, Thrawn. Thrawn is a very different character with Disney than he was like he was purely evil
Yeah,
in the
Rebels.
pre-Disney era, but
Mm.
but also in Rebels. But like in the Disney version of Thrawn is a more complex character and he has a different storyline and he doesn't behave in the same way that the Thrawn trilogy
The books.
pre-Disney's purchase kind of behaved, Like we expect that. Like we would love to see Revan. Like if they ended up doing movies or a TV show from the Old Republic and Revan was a character, I would personally be thrilled, but I would be okay with them changing the story and kind of making it. My thing is like you're so far in you're going 3,000 years in the past relative to the Skywalker storyline. Like when you mess with the acolyte, like we're talking about like a bunch of like crazy things now. Like you're saying Plagueis was the Dark Lord of the Sith like more than 100 years before the Phantom Menace, which is not how it was in the books. Like,
Right.
like, and it's so closely associated. And by the way, I'd be okay with that if they continued to flesh out like a different version of Plagueis' story than what's in the book. But the point is it's close enough that we're a little bit more like, okay, you kind of need to land this plane. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and it's kind of taboo because so much of the literature that Star Wars nerds like love, they kind of went against, which was kind of a slap to the face for a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So hopefully they just get into a completely new storyline where Star Wars nerds can't be upset
Yeah, they have
about
freedom.
what they create.
They have real freedom. Like
Yeah.
there are certain things we want to see. Like definitely, like go into the scale, show us
Get
more
into the
than
scale.
two Sith, like show us that pathway. Would love to see some name drops. If there's a Darth Bane in there, if there's a Darth Revan in there,
Dude.
like
If
all
you
of
saw
that.
live action Darth Bane, oh, That'd
Dude,
be
I would be
incredible.
yeah, like I hope they go in one of those routes, but when we get there, if it's Darth Bane and it doesn't follow the books word for word, I'm cool with it. Like you're telling your new story. I mean, frankly, if it was literally just a cinematic version of the books, like it'd be fun, like we'd enjoy it, but it wouldn't bring
Mm.
that newness of Star Wars storytelling. And like we're kind of embracing that in a lot of ways. But all I will say though is like seeing that trailer got me stoked for like at least a little bit more of an attempt from Disney to venture into a new timeline, which you and I
Yeah,
have been begging for years.
dude,
And even if
it's
we don't
so
see that game till
necessary.
2030, at least this is a step philosophically for the company into that realm, which I'm excited
Agreed.
about.
Agreed. Yeah,
Mm.
agreed. They need to get away from Palpatine. They need to get away from, Vader. Um Vader Anakin gave up his mind, his body, his soul in order to rebalance the galaxy. It was one of the greatest stories literally on Earth that has existed. And then they just went back and they're like, "Nope, Palpatine's still alive."
Yeah.
And they
He
like
teleported from while he was falling down the
yeah,
shaft.
and it was just like just so hard to watch. So, and and I'm such a Star Wars fan. Like my soul is a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful, but I'm not going to get too excited. I can't get let down. It's like Jay, you always talk about this as a sports fan. Like part of being a sports fan is enjoying the ups, but it always comes with the down. And I've heard you describe your fandom for the Dallas Cowboys and how you really never get too excited about the Dallas Cowboys. And that's kind of how I am with Star Wars. Like to my core, I love Star Wars. Like anytime I see anything Star Wars, like the aesthetic of it just like brings me so much joy. But I'm not going to get too excited just yet.
We're beaten men.
We're beating them.
We have
It's part of
been
growing up. It's good for
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
It's knowing how to suffer is one of the best things that you can do as a man. It's what God expects out of us. God doesn't want us to be comfortable on this earth, Jay. He wants us to know how to suffer.
I have one last little bit for you before we head out for the day. You would really enjoy. Did you watch the Knives Out and Glass Onion movies?
Yeah.
The Benoit
Knives
Blanc movies?
so yeah, so 1 and 2. Knives Out was so much better than Glass Onion.
I agree, but I
So
did
much better.
enjoy Glass Onion. I did
It
enjoy
was
both of them,
good.
but Knives
It
Out
was
was
it just
the
like
best
the
one.
the vibe was completely different. But anyways, sorry.
So this next one, they just released it on Netflix like 5 days ago.
Oh.
The third one in the series. It's
Oh, I didn't
long
know
for the
that. Sweet.
record, so make sure it's 2 hours and like 25 minutes, but it's Netflix, so you can watch it in four
Yeah,
chunks.
I'll start it tonight and we'll finish it
Uh,
next month.
yeah, exactly. It's really good, and it follows a Catholic priest. And one of the things that I
Oh,
like about it is it kind of shows like a opportunistic Catholic priest who's in it for himself, but then another one who, you and I have had conversations about the priesthood before in the past, specifically like how like it's a specific life path that like obviously has like some major personal sacrifices, but then comes with
giant.
these other different rewards in terms of like it's a life of service basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the main character, the kid who ends up being like the second priest or like the supporting priest, but he's like one of the main characters of the show. He's like very driven by that idea of like the sacrifice and
Nice.
service, and like he becomes a super likable character in the show. And I think it's like I think his character is a super fascinating reflection of the priesthood. I think you'll really like it.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I was thinking about kind of a similar idea where it's like you can have like priests, let's say, or even bishops, whomever. And I find myself like as I become more and more Catholic, I find myself disagreeing with priests more. So it's kind of a cool ideal. Like so I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see how like I'm excited to see what my brain thinks of that, you know?
Yeah, I think you're gonna like it. Most importantly, Benoit Blanc. It's just Daniel Craig's just great, and the movie's just great. And it was one of those things where like I watched the whole movie last night, and it was just it was just a treat. It was just a treat. It was one of
Cool.
those things where like you're like, oh, I'm glad that I have a Netflix membership tonight. You know what I mean? Like
Dude,
it was
you've
fun.
got to love a movie like that where
Yeah,
where you're done and you're just like, man, like that was a positive impact on my life. Like I
yeah,
feel like where it feel like you feel like it kind of changed your brain chemistry a little bit
yeah,
sometimes. You're
yeah.
just like, all right, like that was good. Like that made an imprint on me.
And you have a fun couple of hours, and it was just a good time. But dude,
Cool.
I had so much fun. I mean, we've been going almost an hour.
I know.
It was just a blast potting with you again. I've missed doing this. As everyone knows, we'll be going every week throughout season one of Fallout. We're
Probably.
literally, for the most part. Christmas week will be a little funky. We might be going on like Friday next week, but we'll see.
Dude, I really hope we can do a live show. That'd be sweet. Like you and I.
Yeah. I might just pack an extra microphone, see if I can make it work. We'll see. But
Just make it happen.
anyway, the this is gonna run, I think, 8 episodes, so like 8 weeks, and Game of Thrones starts in like 4 weeks. So we're gonna be doing like double
Mm,
episodes too when we get to that point. And then Ahsoka's not till the summertime, but there's another big show coming out in the spring. I can't remember what it is, but we have a bunch of stuff coming out next year. I think Rings of Power season 3 comes out next year too. Like it's just like
yeah.
a 2026 is going to be a big year for the show. I'm super super excited, and I'm excited to get back into doing this regularly. And like you said, with us living in different states now, it's nice just to have time to hang out and chat.
It's a good way to catch up, man.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's funny because like there's some stuff that I was intentionally not texting you about because I thought we were just gonna like I thought we were just gonna like FaceTime, and then like the FaceTiming just got pushed back and back and back for one reason or another. Like most of the time, I feel like it's because our kids were you know
You're in
being
the
insane.
trenches now, man. You're in
We're
the
in the
trenches.
trenches,
You've
big
got
time.
baby 3 on the way.
Baby
Baby
three in
2 is
April.
becoming a toddler. Baby 3, or baby 1, I should say, is like well into toddler phase. Like
Oh
you're in the trenches. But you just have such a
yeah,
beautiful family, man. And I miss your kids. I'm
thanks, dude.
excited to see your kids.
I
I'm
know,
excited to
but
see
dude, I cannot
Graham.
wait to have a little coffee date with you and Carly and Elena. It's gonna be awesome.
Hmm.
I've already got the coffee ready to go. So
Hell yeah, dude.
all
All
right,
right, guys, that is all we have for today. As always, we sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting us and supporting the show. As I mentioned, we'll be going again next week, maybe while I'm in Tucson together, maybe on like Wednesday or Thursday, but worst case scenario by Friday night. And then just start planning us having weekly episodes from now on. Again, and we apologize for the delay, but we're never going anywhere. We're just going to keep doing this, and we will see you guys next week.
thanks a lot.